everyone, GamerFrones here, and welcome to the Suhrki Desert, or more commonly referred to as the Vanelands. So in this video we'll be starting a new project. We're gonna build a city in this desert, which is gonna be located right over there. But before we start that project, the first project in my Creating Arenor series, there's work that needs to be done. We need to add plants to this desert, details like that little rolling thing, and we need to add boulders and rocks just randomly around on top of the sand. We need to do some work on the ravines. We need to add sediment layers, and we need to tear down that old city over there, because that city was merely a camp, a barbarian camp. It didn't even have a story, it didn't even have a name. But now we have a city that needs to be built. It's called Qeraisha, and it has a lot more detailed story, so we need to plan that city and actually build it. And the music that you're hearing at the moment is actually like a foreshadowing of what is to come in this series. It's called the Suhrki Desert Ouverture, and it, as well as describing the desert, it also describes its inhabitants. It tells a story of peaceful merchants, of ferocious warriors, and a story of a mysterious people obsessed with a strange religion and ruled by a shaman. So that's what we're gonna see in the future. But first, we have work that needs to be done, so let's begin. So we start by removing the old city, which, as you can see, consisted mainly of these tent-like houses. It almost looked like an oversized camp, but the city that will be here in the future will be a permanent, thriving desert city. Then we add in some plants to the desert. It's a selection of 3 different plants: a mesa bush, a dead bush, and some dead grass. And if you're interested in the brush settings that I use, you can look it up in the description. Then we add like sediment layers. I don't know the right geographical term, but in real life, in the real world, different sediments would gather together and form like these layers that'll be deposited. And as you can see, I add a red one and a brown one at the bottom and at the top. Then I add stones, which I paste in, or not paste, I brush them in with a simple brush, and then I do some editing to make it look more realistic and more individual. Again, you can see the brush settings in the description. And then I want to do something completely different. I wanted to make like a skeleton. I was lying out in the desert of some old and large animal. I started by building it in this scale. I realized I had to rescale it in order to give it more detail. And when building these structures, you just have to, well, go for it. Have a picture you look at and just do your best. I built the spine here, and then I add like ribs to each side. And in the end, I also changed the material. Then, to clarify that this was actually a skeleton, and also to make it even more cool, I started building a cranium down in this cave. So it kind of comes down and it gets like through the actual ground. And as you can see, I use a lighting glitch to create the eye hole, and I use these pillars as teeth. So now we're back in the Suhrki Desert. So let's have a look at what we've done. We've added in these boulders, which adds a nice variation to the terrain, I think, and also some realism. We've added the plants, which is, as you can see, a little bit different. There is a bit of greenery here, so you suppose some animals could actually live here, but otherwise it's just dead bushes and grass. If we look at the map up in the top right corner, you see where the future city is going to be. It's going to be located over here, where it says Qeraisha on the map. So this is, as you can see, the terrain is a bit, well, messy over here. So this is where the city will be located in the future. So we're soon gonna plan out the layout of that city. If we move south, let me just get some speed here. Oh, sorry. Let us find the skeleton that I did. As you can see on the map over there, on the top right, it actually looks like a skeleton, so that's quite brilliant. If we go here, you see that I added in a little tail, and that I also changed the material, but it rather looks like a skeleton now. Let's have a look at the head right there with the sunlight coming in. I think that's brilliant. So everything turned out quite as I wanted it to be. Still lots of details that we can do in the future, but for now this is good, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video, in which we're going to be working on the style of the desert city. So see you there, guys. Thank you for watching.